This is a song for activists. We'll call corruption, we stop for the picket sign. Does democracy come from petitions, not line? Is dignity stop the declaration of human rights? Our chants and slogans, an effective way to fight. Should we stand arm in arm? Sing a piece of chants. What happens when you try to make a real difference? CIA sponsored torture in Greece. They tore out fingernails and smashed the bottoms of feet. They tore out hair and forced water into the anus. You're so bright, excrement shut down throats and whipped toward vaginas. The US gave $3 million to the Mujahedeen who tortured Russians. And accidentally, 6 Germans, including 2 children, they cut off ears, genitals, and nose, removing one slice skin after the other, making sure they died slow. Accused of supporting the guerrillas, a 15-year-old boy was tortured by angry berets in El Salvador. They broke his elbows, gouged out his eyes, they tore out his fingernails and buried him alive. Cemetery to Ende, Elba, Bulgaria. They beat up and cut off the foot of her son. She watched, they cut off his ears, tongue, and gouged out his eyes. Forced to watch, so spent hours making out human hands die. They were 16, 17, and 4-year-old cellmates were forced to dance erotically before being raped. US-sponsored DOPS military arrested 2 women, removed all of their teeth. One woman had half of her nose cut off, the other one's teeth were replaced with teeth from a dog. Chicago commander John Birch made suspects confess by something in last match that shockingly loaded guns to their heads. FwaterO and Green Berets and US-funded death squads put bugs to loot over people's heads and give electric shock. A genitals, respecting and sympathetic to the guerrillas. They massacred over 20,000 whole villages. Sandy's, the prisoner, said the Contras cut off Rose's breasts, then pulled her heart out of her chest. The manslets were broken, they cut off their balls, slit their throats, then they pulled their tongues through the throat holes. Iran oil workers making wage demands. US finance dollars, secret police chopped off their hands. Korea was kidnapped outside LA, interrogated in a van, driving down the freeway. Her hands were cut to burn the cigarettes. They said, tell your friends we're here now. Then they raped her with a stick. US trained battalion 316 electrocuted the breasts of vagina employers Toronto raised. They also used rubber masks to suffocate or tie a mask into the testicles and fill it with weights. US trained and funded Renamo in Mozambique. Recruit boys but had no kill members of the family. Juliet's younger brother was told to cut off her husband's head. When he refused, this was the husband thrown to the point in his torment. The show goes in Tanga. When would be their fate? Renamo picked out an 8-year-old to rape. He used his pocket knife so he could penetrate, and he took her in blood, left her to die in the street. Again, Black Panthers wobbly through the first aim or move. Going to for Red Squad Guard police suppressed Americans too. From arming opposition to agent provocatory fighting. From false arrests, assassinations, and bombings. Manuel de Concial, a Brazilian activist peasant. U.S. trained security police taught him a lesson. They put him in a box for the days when their side he couldn't sleep or eat. They hung by great tight his penis so he couldn't eat. They put him through sexual organs and cut his fingernails. They used a rope to drag him by his testicles. They hung tight and threw him in a pool. He spit only red, soaked in water. They nailed his penis to a table for 24 hours. Throughout the world on any given day, a man, woman, or a child, amateur national said, is likely to be displaced, tortured, killed, or disappeared at the hands of governments or armed political groups. Amis goes on to say, more often than not, the United States shares the blame. If you're not being repressed, you're not making a difference. They fucking torture you if you are actually changing shit.